Hi students, I wanted to put a quick screencast for you together to describe the group paper. So this is the new version of this group paper and presentation. Just wanted to remind you that this is going to be covering a full literature review that you will be doing throughout the semester with your group. You will, at the end of the semester, do your group presentation. And I've put all sections or parts that are due in one paper. But as the semester, unfolds, you will have different parts due at different times. So part one, like we agreed, will not be due until next Tuesday. This past week, you should be working, for on this with your group. And this is all on the topic of DEIJ topic that you have chosen. So basically, this is what this says right here. And then just one little part caveat right here that I just want to draw your attention to is that all participants in your group have to contribute to the literature matrix and to the actual evidence, to the evidence that you're putting every single week. And just, I don't think that this is going to be a problem with anybody in this class, but I just want to let you know that at the very end, there is some reflection about group members and if there was any problem with any group members not participating or doing, their work. And then I just want to let you know that I can have a separate discussion. I won't be saying, who the person, was that, that said this, but I would be at least having a discussion with you or whoever may be involved. If I am going to decrease your grade from that would be given and earned, I should say, by your group. So just kind of read that part right here. This is the description of the overall group project. So part one, as you see right here, which is the introduction, your literature review tactics, or what I call your outline. And then the beginning of your literature review matrix is basically what this section, part one, is all about. I've added this information here about how many points are, structured for each one. But again, if you guys, do this work, you'll get full credit for it, okay? It is really about me giving you an opportunity to get into the literature on your chosen PICO question, and then me giving you feedback as you are gaining more and more literature on that particular subject. So basically, you've already done this part. So choose a research healthcare related topic with a DEIJ theme. Your research topic, should involve an emerging healthcare issue or concern, and a specific population. So by now, with all of the work that you guys have been doing on your PICO forums, you should have more of an idea if on the actual PICO question that you're going to be using. And you should have already kind of started looking into the literature. So basically what the requirements are for this section is that I only want this in about 2 to 3 pages, okay? And you can either do a paragraph or you could just do bullet points. At this point, I just want to see, can you do it? Can you write it? Okay? So it doesn't matter to me how it's presented. The introduction. I want you to introduce your topic. Why is this important to nursing? Why did your group choose this topic? You want to provide your latest version of your PICO question that may have changed from the very beginning. Okay? Provide a purpose in a proposal statement, or a proposal statement. So basically, the purpose of this literature review is to blah, 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 blah. Okay? Literature review outline in the Prisma document. I want you to provide a brief outline of the literature review search, like how did you start the search? Where does your group feel the literature review search may lead? That's kind of like looking at some biases, kind of identifying those biases. What other disciplines do you think you may look into to find relevant articles? You might find some things that are totally outside of nursing. So kind of think a little bit more broad and see where see where that lands. And just to let you know that this is something that you will kind of continue to do as you are searching the literature and finding articles. Okay. I want you to identify all of the different databases that you used up to this point in your research. Okay, so if it's CINAHL or Medline, PubMed, whatever you used, I want you to, tell me which databases did you actually, find these articles and look in. I want you to identify the criteria. So by this, I mean search terms or mesh terms, the dates that you used, etc. Just kind of give me a synopsis. And what you will see is that if you follow this Prisma diagram, you can see that this does pretty much, kind of help you to zero in on some of the decisions that you're making. So, for example, what was the total number of articles that resulted from your original search? That's what that means. Okay, if you put in, let's say the particular search term, and you got like an overwhelming number of hits, you didn't go through, like, let's say, if you got anything more than 20, all right, you probably did something to get that number further down so that you could have a manageable size of actual titles and then abstracts to kind of review. So just describe, basically what this is a way to describe that process, okay? So then based on this initial review of just the titles, let's say, how many articles did you actually eliminate and why? Okay, I want you to then look at the articles that were left, again, up to this point, and tell me how many did you eliminate after the review of the abstract. Okay, and I should have put on there and why. If you can explain why you eliminated them, that would also help. Okay, I actually want you to add a Prisma diagram. Okay, and you can find that on the Sakai website as an exemplar. And then I also want you to actually complete the literature review matrix that I gave you. I sent this as an announcement, and I also have it included in the first in this first assignment for the paper, or for the group assignment. So I want you to actually, what you should be doing is, as a group, you should have shared that with your whole group, like made a copy of it, shared it with the whole group. Don't forget to share it with me, because I will also be doing giving you feedback on that document itself. So make it as a Google Sheet, if you don't mind, so that we can all, I could add a comment very easily and everybody can see it, and we won't have to be, sending the document back and forth. So this is the requirement for the actual review matrix, for the literature review matrix table. Every student, okay, has to at least put one journal article. Like, maybe you guys have done more than that, and that's fine if you did, but this is the bare minimum that we need, and we need one per week. So we started this actually back in week 3. So every student will have to have 2, one for week 3, one for week 4. Okay, and you yourself will have to, find the document, find the actual journal article, and then, or it could not necessarily be a journal article. I mean, maybe you found a really interesting web page that you want to kind of highlight. Again, just make sure that you're going to be able to answer that, the information on the actual database, which is the what type of a evidence is it. Okay. And then again, so and then this is pretty much all the what that is required, but I just put this little note here is that what you will be doing is from basically week 3 and on, but really after this, weeks 5 to week 9, every student will be required to continue to add to this review, the literature review table, so that you get a really robust number of articles, and that then you guys will be able to really fully evaluate and look to see what is the latest evidence on your particular subject, and that's what basically part 2 of this paper is going to be. Okay, so looking at this part 2, it's that you will have to make sure that you complete all the portions of the literature, okay, and all of the weeks by now will have to be completed. And then for this section, I want you to write no more than 4 pages, okay, and again, paragraph or bullet point, it doesn't matter to me, okay. But I do care that the citations in the table themselves are in APA. And I would like for you to also practice putting together an APA reference page. And the reason that I say this is because I see so many errors in this that I would really like to give you some feedback on how to really write a good APA paper, okay? What you want to do is make sure that this is the criteria for paper. This is for part 2, which is the literature review table and the synthesis. And the synthesis is really what's most important. I mean, I kind of gave points for both because by then you guys would have spent a lot of time filling in this table, and I want to give you credit for that. So basically what you will do at the end is that you're going to have all of these number of articles, okay, that everybody has contributed. And as a group, you will have to get together and try to make some sense out of what does it all mean. So when you've synthesized the findings, it is basically a review of what you know about the topic that you found through your literature search, and that you can articulate those findings in a clear, concise, and organized manner. So that's going to be really important for you guys to be able to do that. And then again, we just want to make sure that by this time, when the part 2 is due of this paper, that you really have the full matrix table completely filled and everybody has participated in it. Okay, that's basically what I'm going to be looking at for the literature review matrix, those 50 points. Okay, for part 3, this is where you're going to now actually look at the synthesis, and you're going to try to identify gaps that you may have found in the literature. And then I want you to provide like a quick closing, what you would put as a closing argument if this was a actual paper. So again, this should not be more than 3 pages. And I don't care whether you want to do an APA paper or like bullet point. But basically, these are the things that when you're looking at gaps in the literature, you want to know. Number 1, what still needs to be addressed regarding this topic in this particular population. And if you've read some of the literature, the literature throughout, as you've been going week to week, you will easily be able to fill that part of the literature matrix, okay, and then be able to kind of condense it all. Moving forward, what can we do as nurses to expand on this knowledge about this topic. So think about, like in a research wise, is there more qualitative or quantitative research that maybe needs to be done with certain groups, or would you expand past the group that you were looking at? Okay. What will the expansion of this knowledge do to help support and advocate for this particular population or for this particular problem, okay, that you identified through your PICO question? And again, write a strong closing argument for the whole, uh, the whole parts 1, 2, and 3, okay? And then part of what you guys will have to do is kind of take all of this and create a PowerPoint, and you're going to present this to the class. Okay, the PowerPoint, these are the things that you have to include in the PowerPoint. So your agenda for the PowerPoint and your presentation, the research topic and your PICO question, what you'll kind of describe that information from the first part, which is your literature review, like where what research databases, how many articles you got, your findings, the gaps in the literature, and your future research initiatives that your group came up with. Okay, this whole presentation should not take longer than 10 minutes. If you can just allow for about 2 of those 10 minutes to be for a question and an answer and some feedback. And again, this is just how you're going to be graded on this part. And I forgot to highlight that this is how you're going to be graded on part 3. If you have more questions, please let me know. I will be, you guys send me an email, get on my Google Calendar, so that if anybody doesn't exactly know what to do, I am more than available to discuss. And I look forward to seeing you next week, okay?